My name is Arturo Bello. I'm 17 years old. I've lived on an island my entire life, but I've always had a fear of the sea. Due to this fear, I've never been able to truly experience the ocean that I'm surrounded by. I've gone to the coral reefs before, once when I was 7, but those memories are pretty foggy. I've heard stories about how beautiful they are, but I haven't been back since. It was incredible. In one of the reefs, the water was cool and clear, full of wildlife. I saw all elements of the food chain thriving. Everything from an apex predator like a reef shark to a Goliath grouper the size of me. But that was on the first reef. The second reef was far more accessible and closer to land, and it was depressing. The water was murky and green. There were very little fish, patches of dead coral, and a ton of debris. When I was swimming, a plastic bag actually hit me in the face. I mean, there were fish in coral fields, but far fewer than the more remote, less impacted by humans. I mean, I knew it was bad, but that's what you hear on the news. Now that I've experienced it firsthand, I understand why people are concerned about the future of the reef. I don't want to return from college to see the reef in ruin. It's already changed so much. I decided to figure out what could be done. My first step was the Reef Relief Center, an organization dedicated to protecting the reef and informing the community about the conservation of our ecosystem.
My name is Miller McCleary. I'm the Executive Program Director at Reef Relief. The loss of coral has a very negative impact on the ecosystem as a whole. It provides essential habitat and food for a lot of marine creatures. So if the coral dies off in certain places, you may see, well, you would see much less fish in those areas. So yeah, the loss of habitat, and then you'd have more at risk for flooding around islands where those corals have died off. There would be a dramatic economical impact if we were to lose our coral reefs, especially in the Florida Keys. Just in Key West alone, we get about 3 million visitors per year. It's estimated that about 75% of those of that tourism are using the water one way or another. They're diving, snorkeling, fishing, jet skiing. So the loss of coral and loss of habitat and a sick ocean around the island, you would see people most likely spending their vacations in other places. So you'd see job loss here and a really basic economic collapse.
After speaking to Mill, my team was invited to the Eco Discovery Center, an ocean care facility in Key West, Florida.
Moat Marine Laboratory is an independent, nonprofit marine research lab. We actually started as a shark research facility, but now we do a lot of different things. And down here in the Keys, we're focused on coral reef research and restoration. We are literally planting live corals on the reef. So we're hoping to make a lot of positive change for the reef environment here in the Keys, and we've seen some good results so far. A coral reef is essentially thousands and thousands of years of these tiny little animals just building houses. So coral is an animal related to jellyfish and sea anemones, so it's sort of soft and gelatinous. And stony corals, or reef-building corals, build a hard calcium carbonate skeleton. So they basically build their own house around themselves, and then they build their own house, but they only live on the top floor, so they sort of keep growing up and out and up and out and up and out. But they grow really, really slowly. So when you go out on a reef and you see a big coral head like this big, it could literally be 10,000 years old.
My name is Mark Rackley, and I'm an underwater photographer. I've filmed a lot of hurricanes in the past, and I've seen a lot of the destruction that happens on the coastlines. And the fact that we have a reef where we have it, there could be a lot more damage if we didn't have a solid reef, you know, like we have. Like, for instance, the coastlines in the Carolinas, I was just there, and it's it's all, you know, sand, and it's like pretty deep right there. There's no reef. That water just smashes right up on the shoreline. That's basically what we would have if we didn't have a reef. Two years ago now that I had gotten bitten by a blue shark in the arm. And blue sharks you don't normally see in the Keys at all. You see them more, you know, up towards Cape Cod and the deeper water out there. And for some reason, the blue shark maybe had gotten lost or whatever. It ended up in the really shallow water, you know, 4 or 5 feet of water. We're not sure why. You know, it would be interesting to see why that happened. You know, in the same time you say that, if somebody would get attacked, then you would think, well, there would be too many sharks. Well, there's more people as well in the water than there was back in the day too. The reef is out there for everybody to enjoy, and I'm super happy that they're doing stuff to keep the reefs preserved.
After speaking to Mark, I went to one of the top coral research centers in the world, Mote Marine Laboratories.
I'm Dr. Dave Vaughn, and I'm Executive Director of Mote's Tropical Research here at our new International Center for Coral Reef Research and Restoration. And I'm a marine biologist, but I grow coral for a living. The lab does research work and education and conservation. Our research work is on how to develop technologies for actually growing hard corals. Our conservation is actually producing and planting thousands of corals back on the reef. And we do education in the form of advanced courses, summer camps, as well as workshops to train other people from around the world how to do this. There's no doubt about it that the top stressor for corals is climate change. And that gives it basically a number of stresses. For one, it raises the temperature, which causes coral bleaching. And in addition, we're seeing times where it's not just high temperatures, it's temperature extremes. So we've actually had some very low temperatures and very high temperatures. The exact opposite of if you went to a pet store and wanted to start a reef tank in your home. They would tell you keep the temperature between 70 and 78 all the time. And we've changed that in our oceans to be colder, down towards 50 degrees, and hotter, up into the 90 degrees. Over half of the oxygen we breathe comes from the ocean. If we have a healthy ocean, we have a healthy mankind on this planet.
I want to give future generations the opportunity to experience the reef as I have. I hope that they don't miss out on this opportunity and that we don't ruin it for them. The consequences will be quick and severe. If we wait too long, we will have irreversible damage that we could have prevented. We're working hard, but we don't want to go 2 steps forward and 3 steps back.